Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Pregame Show, the kickoff show. Bo Wulf, Jamie Lynch, as we are half an hour away from the first Eagles football of the 2024 season. It sounds like the starters are going to play a little bit in this game. Jamie, how you doing? You fired up?
A little bit actually. It kind of snuck up on me last week. I was going over my calendar and I was like, "Oh, next Friday night. How about that?" And this week, Bo, a lot of these guys are new, so I think that's just adding to the excitement because it's the first time you and Zach have been at camp every day. I haven't seen Johnny Wilson yet. I haven't seen Quinyon Mitchell yet. I haven't seen our future intern Trevor Keegan yet. A lot of these guys are new. So this is kind of a new experience, and I'm kind of hyped up for it, actually.
Yeah, you're right. Like that, and now we're going to hear from Zach in about 10 minutes. But Zach and I have, for me and him, it's like we have seen these guys every day. I want to see what translates from the practice field
Sure.
to the actual field. For everybody else, like all of Eagles Nation, it's like, yeah, these are fresh eyes on who, like Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Let's see what
Sure.
he's like.
Yeah.
Isaiah Rodgers, what is the hype real?
Yeah.
Mekhi Becton, how monstrous can this right guard be? All this fun stuff. It's going to be very exciting. And then I think what typically happens in a preseason game is by the second quarter, everybody's sort of like, well, okay, let's get ready for week one.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of fun stuff to see and fun stuff to talk about over the course of the next month. So
Yeah.
this game will like set the the talking points for the weeks to come.
Yeah, and I think there's actually some position battles too, which makes it more intriguing. We didn't have that last year at all. Really, that was a ready, set, turnkey roster, and now there's some genuine, position battles, and it should be pretty fun. And you're going up against a team with John Harbaugh that takes this stuff really seriously in the preseason. They're 24-1 in their last 25, which doesn't seem real, but John Harbaugh, this is important to him, and he wants his team to go out there and execute. So you're getting, a fairly decent preseason test here.
So which of those position battles that you talked about are you most intrigued by to watch tonight?
If Cooper DeJean was on the field, I would say without a doubt the defensive back battles. I think I'm really intrigued by the wide receivers. I think Johnny Wilson, John Ross, Paris Campbell, that kind of threesome fighting it out. And then the linebacker, Trotter Jr., I saw your video the other day saying you think he starts at some point this year. And Zach's been talking about his instincts, and if you see those instincts translate right away, whenever he gets in, quarter two or whatever, there's going to be some reason to get excited about him, and given that a battle, him versus Nakobe Dean is pretty fun. So looking forward to some of these good battles. And then, of course, you mentioned it, Mekhi Becton and Tyler Steen. Is that a real battle here?
I mean, I think if it's not a battle, it's over in the other direction.
Yeah.
Mekhi Becton has won that job. Some of the guys you mentioned now, Paris Campbell, my guess is probably won't play tonight because he's been missing practice the past couple days. So that means I think we will see, Johnny Wilson. I don't know. My guess and the reporting from I think Jeff McLean had it first that the starters are expected to play at least a series. And my guess is that like Jalen Hurts is probably going to play just a series, and maybe this is the only time we will see him this preseason. But what do you make of those guys actually playing after not playing last summer and playing a little bit the year before?
I don't know if it's a willingness on Sirianni's
How much of a
part.
football guy are you? Do you need this? Like, how much of a concussion uncle are you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been very pro the way Sirianni's handled it in the past because, once you get to a Super Bowl, like that instantly into your career here, I'll trust you a little bit. I think this is maybe an admission of either I'm willing to do things differently, or there's so many new faces here. I actually want to see, just one series of reps. And I think that takes a little bit of the stress off prior to week one. Just actually getting out there and getting in the pads and doing it all and muscle memory and just kind of scraping the rust off a little bit. So, I think it's probably a little bit of both of those things. But I think maybe most importantly is Sirianni saying, hey, I'm open to change. I'm open to be different. I'm open to critique myself and the way I do things. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think some of the key differences here are, I mean, they did play in the 2022 preseason. They played that one series and Jalen Hurts took that big hit on the sideline. But last summer, they were coming off the Super Bowl, right? So there was an emphasis on extra rest because you go through that gauntlet. You need to sort of take advantage of all that rest that you can. And then I also think, and Zach and I talked about this on offense. You've got a new center. You've got Jalen Hurts making the calls for the first time. It's obviously a new offense. He's got a new voice in his ear. I think it makes sense to go through at least one game where you're practicing everything that goes into actually running the function of an NFL offense. You don't want week one to be the first time that you're going through that, right? And then on defense, we know that Vic Fangio wants those guys to play, but it's a new scheme. It was a new scheme last summer too, but it's a little bit different. And again, there's not the Super Bowl hangover. So I'm not entirely surprised, although I didn't expect them to play tonight, but I'm not entirely surprised when you think of all those pieces.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Fangio too, like he's up in the box, and I don't know how different that's going to be for a lot of the guys. But again, that's another reason to just go ahead and do it. It's something different. Just get used to it. Like my daughter's in kindergarten camp this week, right? They're teaching the kids about the schoolroom and where the bathrooms are and where the classrooms are and where the gym is, so that day one they get into kindergarten and they kind of feel a sense of comfortability. I mean, it's the same basic principle with preseason.
My son's not getting this offered. What the heck?
No? Oh, out here in Montgomery County, Bo, they did kindergarten camp. We had to pay for it
too.
Yeah, but she knows where the John is day one. You know what I mean? That's important stuff.
That's smart.
Yeah.
You gotta know who your center is. You gotta know what your hot reads are.
Exactly. Yeah. And you got two new coordinators on top of it. So, just getting each other's cadence and kind of rhythm down a little bit and all that stuff. It's just, why not? Like, I think it's smart to get him in there for a series.
From the quarterbacks, Jamie, after Jalen Hurts leaves, are you interested at all? Are you intrigued by this Tanner McKee, Kenny Pickett jockeying?
Yeah, I've been reading a lot of you and Zach's work down there, and there is a little bit of a buzz about Tanner McKee. I know Anthony's all fired up about him. Kenny Pickett was kind of a surprise trade of the offseason. Made a lot of sense to bring somebody in, first-round caliber, to be a backup. Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see who does better, to be honest with you. That should keep my interest through the third quarter, and then the fourth quarter is probably going to get a little rough. But I would imagine McKee and Pickett's enough to keep you through 2 and 3, right?
Yeah, I will warn the viewers tonight that if Will Grier gets into this game, that's probably the time that you can go to bed, or switch over to some late Olympics action,
or just set the notification for post-game show.
Yeah. Listen, we're gonna be here after the game for the post-game show. You can watch us live, or you can listen after the fact. We will tell you everything that happens. You don't need to see Will Grier live.
I've heard it's quite bad.
To be fair, I am speaking like Zach. Zach is much more anti-Will Grier than I am. I think it might be fun. He's been making some plays. We do have a super chat from Daniel Mormack, who is offering a little bit of money because he knows that Zach hopefully will get himself a hotel tonight if he's staying. He's trying to be a hero. We don't need Zach to be a hero. We need Zach to be here. Oh.
Yeah, you can't be driving tired.
Yeah.
So
what are we doing?
I did it the other day, actually, the Baltimore drive up and back in one day. It's not terrible, but you don't want to be doing that late, Zach.
No, but I mean, if it's going to be 2 a.m. and it's going to be piss and rain, then
nah, stay over.
Yeah,
go out to Fells Point.
Can't do it. I'm just saying, let's play smart. This is the preseason.
Go out to the Cat's Eye Pub in Fells Point and have yourself a good time, Zach.
And Daniel also says that he's excited to see Jalix Hunt. And I do actually think that will be a fun one for people to see tonight.
Yeah, he should get a substantial amount of time, I would think. And another guy too in that same ilk is Nolan Smith. I mean, you talk about a guy with an absolutely monster opportunity, but also they're counting on him in a really big role this year. So there's still like Nakobe Dean. I don't know if he can play football at all. And Nolan Smith, you saw some glimpses, weeks like 15, 16, 17 last year where he went, okay, I see it. Now, this is an opportunity for him. So Hunt and him together, that's something to watch.
Are you buying into the Johnny Wilson hype, or you want to see it for yourself?
Oh, I'm all in, but I haven't seen him yet. So tonight's the first chance to see him. I've been leaning on, Zach. I approached Zach the other day. I was like, Johnny Wilson, man, I'm all in. I'm ready to get hurt again. And he goes, well, I wouldn't draft him in fantasy yet. And I was like, no. This is the guy that's going to hurt me. I'm ready to get hurt again. Preseason hype. Let's go. So we'll see. I'm excited to see him.
I think what I would say about Johnny Wilson, and let's see how he does tonight. But I think that he has risen up the depth chart more as a function of what is around him than him like letting the world on fire. I think I think he's the most interesting of what they have, but that doesn't mean that he's going to come out and light the world on fire.
Sure, I'm curious or most excited to watch him in the red zone. A 6'6" guy becomes a very valuable target down there. So, hopefully they're in the red zone a bunch tonight and can try out some things.
Offensive line wise, we have a question from Andy who wants to know about the backup offensive lineman. I think the star here tonight is obviously going to be Dylan McMahon, my boy D-Mac. Probably going to be the third team center tonight, but you will get to maybe see him in the open field, flashing that speed, that quickness. But my guess, and it's actually interesting because usually Stout, he keeps his rotations the same in practice, but messes around with things during the games. And I wonder if some of that is just throwing guys into different situations, or maybe trying to protect against the league, seeing these guys and, guys that they want to protect. But if it is like we have seen over the course of the last week or so, and we got a message from Reed who wants Zach to know that he's watching. We will absolutely tell Zach that Reed is watching. You'll have Fred Johnson at left tackle with the twos. You will have Brett Toth at center. You'll have Steen at right guard. You'll have Darren Kennard at right tackle. And you will have, now it could be Nick Gates, but it's probably Trevor Keegan, our friend, at left guard.
Yeah. There's some names there. Matt Hennessy was a guy I expected to maybe even potentially sneak in and compete for a guard spot when they first signed him. Now he's on a second unit. And Steen is Steen's big time. I don't know much about Darian Kennard, and Keegan we talked to. Great young guy. Sounds really sharp. Coming from that concussion Uncle Harbaugh program at Michigan. So it'll be interesting to see him too. So I think there's a little bit to watch there, and how, Stoutland develops these guys. You feel great about their development here. That's for sure.
All right. Well, I think we have the man himself from M&T Bank Stadium, Zack Burman, looking sharp. Zach, did you hear the comment that we got? Reed is watching.
I heard, I read. He spells better than I do. I give him credit there. So it's awesome to know that he's watching at home. Although I imagine he wishes he were here tonight, because I got to tell you, it's a beautiful night here in Baltimore.
You knew we were going to ask about the weather.
Yeah, I know there was serious inclement weather here overnight and into today, and even on the drive down here. There was actually a part of the highway that was closed, unfortunately. So I got to see a lot of Delaware. But when they, the weather gods, if you will, must know that there's a preseason football game tonight, because once you get to the Inner Harbor, it is beautiful, right? I mean, I could look across the street at Camden Yards, and it would be a perfect night for a ball game here.
All right, so Zach, tell us what you know about the expectations for the starters, how long they're going to play. What have you seen in warm-ups? What have you heard?
Yeah, so watching warm-ups here, Jalen Hurts was out there with the first team offense. So I saw Jalen throwing to Saquon, saw AJ, saw Devontae. We all saw Jeff McClain from the Inquirer reported earlier today that the starters were going to play, and obviously weather has an effect on that. Going into tonight, I thought the defense was going to play. I was curious whether they would sit the prominent offensive players. Going simply based on what I saw in pregame warmups, it seems like they're going to play. Now, the one interesting wrinkle here, I don't know if this was just rotating guys in and out. With the first team offense on the offensive line, I saw Brett Toth snapping the ball to Jalen Hurts. And I wanted to make sure, so I turned to my left where Dave Zangaro, the outstanding reporter from NBC Sports Philly, and he saw the same thing. And then, eagle eye that he is, he found Brett. He found Cam Jurgens in uniform. So Cam Jurgens is here; he's down there. But it was interesting to see Brett Toth there. So it might have just been mixing and matching. I don't know if there's something before the game. But that is something.
An illness that took him out of practice the other day, but then he returned. So yeah, sure. Interesting. Was Lane out there?
Yeah, Lane was out there. Jordan Mailata was out there. So they had, You know, that they had the whole band together, if you will.
So Zach, I read your,
but Cam's out there is my point. Cam's
Okay.
out there. Yeah, he's
Zach,
in uniform.
I read your 23 things to watch for tonight in the game article earlier today on all PHLY.
All 23 of them?
Was it 23?
Yeah, did you read all 23?
Yeah, I did actually.
Good guy. I'm appreciative.
Yeah. So now when the ball is snapped, let's go with first and second units here, offense and defense. What are you most tuned in on? You know, your eyes can only find certain things. Yeah. Me and Bo were talking. I'm really excited for the cornerbacks, the linebackers, you know, a little bit of wide receiver. There's offensive line, defensive line stuff. Where's Zach Berman's eyes going in the first and second units here tonight?
Yeah, Mekhi Becton's really the first place I'm going to look, because I do think he can create distance at right guard. I'm not ready, like Bo said, to call this competition yet. I think that there's a lot of football left ahead of us here, but I think a strong showing from Mekhi.
The Eagles have just won the Super Bowl, and Zach Berman is finally ready to declare that Mekhi Becton will be the Week 1 starter.
A measure twice and cut once, right? So I'm very curious to see Mekhi Becton. This is the first time that he's playing right guard in his NFL career. I'm curious too on defense, Quinyon Mitchell, and I want to see if they work Quinyon Mitchell in on the outside after the starters go out. I'm expecting him to be the first team nickel, right? But look, rookie first game here. They know he can play the outside. They have ambitions of him playing on the outside. So I'm curious to see if they mix him in. The Ringo-Rodgers combination, a week ago, I would have said Ringo was the front runner. Now Rodgers, I would say, based on what I've seen this past week in terms of playing time or first guy up, I would think maybe Rodgers has the edge there. It's a cool story for Rodgers. This is his first time playing in an NFL game since December 2022. He had a nice post about this on social today. So I'm curious to watch him. So first team, that's kind of where my eyes are going. When the second team's out there. Oh, and I should also add wide receiver 3, and that will bleed into the second team, if you will, because guys like Johnny Wilson, Britton Covey, they're gonna get reps beyond just the starters, right? I want to see Britton Covey at wide receiver. He's been watching the Cole Beasley film this offseason. He's had a good camp so far. I want to see how legit Johnny Wilson is. And then in the similar vein to, like, we can't call the right guard competition yet. I'm down on Anaya Smith based on what I've seen in camp. I think this is a chance for him to try to make up ground with a good showing tonight.
What about at safety, Zach? And have they warmed up? Do you see it as Avonte Maddox or James Bradbury next to Reed Blankenship?
Good question. I came over here. I don't have that firm answer for you. I should have. It's preseason for me too.
That's okay.
I was.
I have another question for you.
Wait, I have a confession. Like my AirPods were not working. And I knew I had to come on, so I was scrambling to find headphones to put on. I have headphones in my bag, but when I wanted to make sure that I came on and did not leave you guys hanging. It's like getting to a date late. You don't want to do that.
Now the people are impressed that you have gone sport coat for the preseason. The listeners.
McLean said the same thing. This is a game, right?
What percentage of the writers have a jacket on? What are we talking?
Well, if there are 20 writers here, I don't know, but if there are 20 writers here, then the answer would be 5%. Okay, because I am the only one. But you look, you dress for the job you want, right? Not for the job you have. Yeah.
Practice like a champion.
What is the job that you want?
I meant, you like I'm treating this like this is a real game. I'm here, although I probably would have left an hour earlier had it been a real game. But yeah, I don't have a tie on. Perhaps if it was regular season, I have a tie. Although we don't need to get into fashion.
All right, Zach,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, just promise the people you'll wear the same suit at the Super Bowl this year, and it's a full circle moment.
He'll plus that up.
Yeah, no. If they're in the Super Bowl, I'm pulling out the nice blue suit. A nice tie. You got national people there. I gotta keep pace. You got Bo there. I got
a couple follow-ups here. I think this is the important stuff. Now, Jamie, you probably don't know the story. Last summer, the Eagles also played in Baltimore, and I went down early, played around in golf with some Baltimore-based friends beforehand. Sweltering day, and unfortunately I'd packed a change of clothes and was able to shower, but had forgotten extra underwear and was getting late for not late, but it was getting time to go. And I tried to circle around a couple strip malls, could not find anything. Had to cover the game commando. Zach, I'm curious, how was your situation there?
I'm fine. All good. Nothing to worry about.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
And I do also
Commando's enjoyable from time to time.
Do I detect some product in the hair tonight? There's a little bit of a nice little flip up top.
No different than any day you see me. Yeah. No different than any day you see me. I do want to say, they were going through their full pregame warm up, talking to some Baltimore guys before the game. It sounds like the Ravens are only going to play their young starters, if you will, so not their prominent guys. Probably similar to how I thought the Eagles would approach it on offense. That's the way Baltimore's operating here. So you won't see Lamar Jackson. You're not going to see Derrick Henry, I presume. So this won't be the same, the full Ravens team. Although when I walked out, the first player that I saw on the big screen, and it's a new press box location, and so I got the big screen right in front of me. The first player I saw was none other than Nate Wiggins. Okay,
your boy.
So this Nate Wiggins Quinyon Mitchell matchup here, there's going to be a lot of draft nicks out there. Whether you're talking about the Dane Bruglers, the Fran Duffys of the world, they're going to be watching this outstanding first round cornerback matchup.
Zach, we have a super chat from Chris who wants to know if you have any memories of Mike McMahon for the viewers.
Yeah, Mike McMahon. Well, I remember him at Rutgers, of course. I remember him with the Detroit Lions, but then I remember that 2005 season. And I got to say, Bo might not be surprised by this, but I remember being at training camp in 2005 and thinking, I have something here in Mike McMahon. And they clearly did not have something in Mike McMahon. I remember talking to Marty Mortenweg about him. Marty brought him over from Detroit. Marty had him in Detroit, brings him over, and Marty liked the athleticism, but it did not come to fruition. Actually, there's a book coming out on September 24th called The Franchise, Philadelphia Eagles, the curated history of the Birds, and it chronicles the last anywhere books are sold. And it chronicles the last 25 years. But I got to say, the Mike McMahon era does not get any shine in the book.
Not even a mention for the mobile Joe Montana.
The 2005 season, the Terrell Owens things mentioned in there quite a bit, but not Mike McMahon.
All right.
Zach,
last question. Last question for me, Zach.
Okay, yeah. Last one for me. How much is Kenny Gainwell's Shipley job up for grabs tonight? Like, is that a true fight for the second running back position here?
Depends who you ask.
What a softball for Zach. He's going to take this one and run with it.
Yeah, I certainly think that I wouldn't say, the depth chart will be clear 1, 2, 3. But if you're looking at like who's 2A, who's 2B, I think that is up for grabs this summer. I do think Gainwell's looked good during the past few weeks or the past few practices, so the past week. And I think Shipley has taken a step back during the past week. Bo was watching the pass protection drill the other day. And I also think from like a running perspective and from a catching perspective, he has not been as sharp as he's been or as he was the first week. That said, I do think Will Shipley is the more promising player. The Eagles did draft him in the 4th round. They liked him quite a bit. And I think Will Shipley, with a good game tonight, can take a lead in the competition for number 2 running back.
Wow. Bold take from Mr. Berman. Zach,
he's got Nate Wiggins on the other sideline. This Clemson team's very well the Clemson team's very well represented on the field.
I mean, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. declared him the other day. Along the sidelines. On defense, Zach, who is a second or third team player that you are most interested to watch tonight? Last one for me.
Yeah, you mentioned Trot Jr., and I agree with what Bo said, that the way Trot Jr. has come on of late. But really, the second team player is Moro Ojimo, because I think Moro Ojimo has been really good this past week. And, we've talked throughout the summers. We did shows every day, of course, and we spoke about defensive tackle depth. And I understand, we're talking about your backup nose tackle. whether it's Marlon Tuipulotu, PJ Mustipher, that's a different conversation than the Moro Ojimo conversation. But if Jalen Carter were to go down or Milton Williams were to go down, who do they have there? And that's when we talked about, do they need to address it with veteran depth? But I think Moro Ojimo, I'm not saying he's similar to someone who's played 8 years, who gives you that peace of mind. But I think he's earning the trust of the coaching staff with the way he's playing. And I think if he plays well tonight, that's going to stand out. Also, this is more
like you to pick a member of the core four.
Yeah, this is kind of like a first, second team thing. But on my ride down, I listened to all of the Chris Long's podcast. He had on Jason Kelsey and Brent Selleck and Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. And Chris Long said that he was talking about Nolan Smith. And he said that when they drafted Nolan Smith, he kind of heard Nolan Smith was a year away and that they liked the way Nolan Smith looks now physically. I thought Nolan had a good summer last year, but clearly I misidentified the role that he would have. I think the Eagles wanted and hoped for more. But I want to see if there's any noticeable difference in Nolan Smith tonight, because as Bo and I talked about throughout the summer, the Eagles need to figure out where they're getting the sacks from, the edge rush pressure from. And Jeremiah Washburn did say that it has, that the whole needs to be greater than the sum of the parts. So Nolan Smith must factor into that.
There you go. All right, Zach, we hope you have a good game. I know it's a new view. Hope you can still see enough, and we'll talk to you in the post-game show.
I look forward to it. Thanks, guys.
See you, Zach.
Another super chat from Chris, who says his favorite Mike McMahon memory.
I remember this.
Is a game in 2005 versus the Packers in the late fall. Hit a ref in the head with a pass. Very funny to 10-year-old him. Go Birds.
I remember that play. Yeah. Mike McMahon, there was a hype train behind him for 2-3 weeks, and then we saw him play.
There you go. All right, we're closing in here, Jamie. I don't know that we need to do actual predictions here, but give me a prediction of something that's going to happen, even if it's not the result of the game.
I sense Trotter Jr. is going to have a little bit of a game. I think because it's not going to take Eagles fans much. If you just sprinkle a little bit of Trotter Jr. salt on the steak here.
One big play.
People are going to start sizzling. The hype train's going to take off. Looking forward to watching him. So I think he's going to have a good game because, if preseason football is dumbed down basic plays, instinct should take over a little bit. And if he's up against second team units and whatnot, I expect him to have a good game. And I'm hoping we talk about Jalix Hunt as wow, do you see that guy's ankles? Do you see his speed around the edge? How about those long arms? He looks like he could be a problem with some development. So I'm hoping we talk about him a little bit.
I'm going to go ahead and say that Julian Okwara makes a big play, maybe a sack or two, because this is a veteran caliber guy who's beat up a little bit on the third teamers on the Eagles. I don't know how good the Ravens third team offensive line depth chart is, but that's a guy who could make some plays. And then of course, in addition to
Bo, we have to get to your crush, right?
in addition to the Bo Wulf camp crush, the hit rate is impeccable. I have identified Lou Nichols. I expect that Lou Nichols could make something happen, but I do also have to give a shout out to the runner-up, the person who, if you had asked me on Tuesday who was the camp crush, I would have said EJ Jenkins, the tight end, and I think EJ Jenkins might have a big day as well. He has made more plays than any tight end in camp since the spring, maybe along with Dallas Goedert, and the connection with Tanner McKee is fantastic. So if he is on the field with Tanner McKee, you will see EJ Jenkins have a big quarter or so.
Love it. Yeah, big quarter. Preseason football.
Fantastic.
Love it. So Lou
All right,
Nichols, and apparently from Zach's tweet tonight, I take it that Christian Ellis made a nice play up in New England.
Well, yeah, I heard he had a sack yesterday.
How we doing?
Doing very well, but also was playing with the threes. So, I think he's going to make that roster and eventually earn himself a starting job. But, the ball don't lie.
As the great Rasheed
Eagles
Wallace
could use a linebacker like that right now.
They can always use linebackers, it seems. So how much are we going to see of Bond and White, you think?
My guess would be a series, maybe two. I think Bond is the one who could use it a little bit more just because he doesn't have as much experience as a linebacker. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, that'll do it for the PHLY Eagles kickoff show. Make sure that you are liking the video. Go grab yourself a nice cold Miller Lite so you can suck one back with your boys or girls or people as you're watching this preseason opener. And then make sure that you are joining us right after the game on the PHLY postgame show. Bo Wulf, Jamie Lynch, Zack Burman.
I've got my Zack Burman notepad out. I'm ready to go, Bo. Some furious note-taking tonight.
Fantastic. All right. That'll do it for this kickoff show. Thanks for joining us live, everybody. And we will talk to you after the game. Enjoy it. The season begins right now.
We all silly like